We'll just give everybody a few minutes to join us and sign on. Hey, Azure.
Hey, can you hear me okay? I'm using new headphones today. They're wireless. I don't
Yeah.
know if it makes me sound like I'm in a tin can.
No, I can hear you.
Cool. These were $30. They're great.
Where'd you get them? Like Amazon or something?
Yeah, I got them because I know I'm going to lose one. And I'm okay losing part of a $30 headphone set.
Right, rather than like AirPods or whatever they're called.
Yes.
Hey, Whitney. Hi.
Hey.
All right. Just give it a couple more minutes to hopefully get some late joiners.
You got downstairs by herself yesterday.
All right. I mean, I think maybe we should just go ahead and get started, and then maybe people will join. So, hey, everybody, and welcome. So I know the past few weeks we've been having guests come on and share on specific topics, but this week we decided to switch it up a little bit and host like an open forum where we can just all talk and chat about things that are happening or things that we're interested in and see what everybody else is up to. So as a reminder, please speak up and don't be afraid to share. Just unmute yourself, jump right in if you have something to say. If you have a question or you can't find a chance to jump in, feel free to use the chat function. Like we'll be monitoring that as well. And so as a heads up, it's going to be a very interactive social hour. I have a bunch of polls for us to kind of figure out like where we want to take it today. So to start off, I'll do the first poll and see kind of what everybody wants to talk about. So if you were part of our Facebook event manager community, you may have seen this poll I posted in there. But we'll just see what everybody on the call is interested in, and then we can take it from there. Cool. All right. So it looks like the majority of us want to talk about booking holiday events and then maybe, let's see, generating new business and catering. So I think those are kind of the main areas. So we can start off with booking holiday events. I have another poll for us. So questions are you guys getting holiday leads? And if you are they mostly social, corporate, or a mix of both?
I'm always curious to see how far in advance people start looking for the holidays, COVID or not.
I know, as like, I just always feel like as a planner, you just have to keep booking like earlier and earlier. But like with COVID, I think it's kind of interesting because I think people will be pushing them out like a little bit later. Let's see. Okay. I think we had most of you guys answer. Okay, so good news is a lot of people are getting holiday leads, so that's great. And it looks like, it's kind of funny, we're pretty like even, like between social and corporate and a mix. So that's like kind of interesting. So for those of you who are getting leads for holiday events, are you seeing them being booked later than normal? Are you still seeing them being booked in 2020? Or are you seeing them be like pushed off until like 2021?
I can chime in here, guys. Hi, my name is Alexa. I work for Fobo de Shone here in Plano, Texas, and Addison, Texas as well. And it's so funny because we're kind of on a roller coaster. So I got a lead yesterday for a 110 person buyout for my Addison store for a holiday event. And then in not even an hour or two later, I got a cancellation for an 80 top for my Plano store. So it's just like a total roller coaster. But I tried in the chat box to put our early holiday booking incentive. I think it's really slowly, okay, maybe it just posted now. But this is how we've been trying to get people to book earlier. And this last minute push to get 3 gifts, and then the gifts start to go down the later that you book. But this is still by far the latest we have ever seen bookings. I have a feeling people are going to panic mid-October, early November when they see, oh, it's safe to host events. We should start looking for our venue. And then I have a feeling it's just going to be a lot of last minute bookings this year.
Yeah. And where did you say you were from?
Fogo de Chão, Brazilian restaurant.
Yeah. And what state?
I'm in Plano, Texas and Addison, Texas.
Okay. And you guys just went up to 75% capacity, right? That was awesome.
Yeah. So that doesn't, unfortunately, I'm the group sales manager. So for private dining, it didn't really affect me much because the table restrictions didn't change. It's still a maximum of 10 per table and then tables 6 feet apart.
Nice.
Are you seeing, I know it's only been a couple of days since Texas increased, but are you seeing some more activity or phone calls since the capacity increase?
Big time. And I think that the biggest increase we're seeing restaurant wise is in main dining. Private dining for me has been pretty consistent because people have felt safer being in private spaces anyways because they're controlled who's kind of around them. So I didn't see much of a big push as far as groups go, but our main dining reservations are, we don't even have the staff to keep up with how many that has increased. And I feel like a lot of people can feel my pain there if you're in a venue type situation right now.
That's great. Did anybody else have any like holiday incentives that they're pushing that are helping them like book business? Whitney, have you seen any kind of interesting incentives?
I can share what I've been seeing. So I work with Fogo. So Alexa, I work with Troy Sacco a lot. So I got that newsletter. I was like, that's genius. That's one of the first ones I got. And I've seen a lot of people who are offering gift cards in varying amounts for if you book your holiday party by a certain time, we'll give you a $500 gift card, something like that, so that you'll get some kind of revenue from them eventually. You know, you'll register that gift card sale at some point. But just kind of creative ways of not slashing food and beverage minimums. I haven't seen anybody who's really wheeling and dealing on that kind of stuff yet, because I think everybody really knows how important it is, and just even the cost of labor, like everybody really needs to cover their costs right now. So I think cutting down food and beverage minimums isn't the first kind of go-to for everyone yet. What I'm mainly seeing is those extra add-on incentives or like amenities that get added if they book by a certain time. So it's definitely regional, but I've been seeing leads for customers coming in pretty steadily all September. I think it kind of ebbs and flows. Like I was seeing them come in May when I'm in Nashville, but cover customers all over the country and in Europe as well. And in like May, I was seeing huge buyouts come in for some of our Nashville customers, like 250 people, all these places downtown. And then the cases kind of rose and things went back down again. So I think it kind of ebbs and flows, but I have been seeing those holiday leads come in pretty steadily all month. And a lot of my customers have been reaching out like, hey, asking questions, which makes me know they're doing these holiday marketing pushes.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, we're definitely not cutting food and beverage minimums right now. That will probably be like a last ditch. It's November and we still have space to fill kind of thing, maybe. But I think even then we can fill it in a restaurant, we can fill it with main dining. It's not like in a hotel where it's going to sit empty. Like we will fill the space regardless in a restaurant. So even then I don't see that happening.
And was the buyout for a corporate client, I'm assuming?
Oh, let me get off mute. Yeah. It's a corporate client for sure. And then we did have a buyout for a wedding though, like 3 weeks ago, which was awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Are you guys doing any like holiday catering offerings or any offsite stuff? No.
Not just yet. I think we will. Our catering's a big push. Still kind of in the development phases. But I think eventually they'll see that. My prediction is that people are going to wait to book their group till the last minute. They're going to run out of space, and then they're just going to resort to catering. Is my prediction for what's going to happen for that.
Yeah, I think I can see that happening too. I think, like you said, a lot of people are going to be putting it off, and that they're going to have limited options. Cool. What about anybody else on the call? What are you guys doing at your venues for holiday stuff?
I can share another thing I've seen is a lot of places shifting, and we've talked about this a lot, but a lot of places shifting to like a product market rather than just private dining and restaurants and in-house dining, like shifting towards selling products. And I've seen a lot of promos come to my inbox about, like holiday gift baskets and boxes and stuff like that. And, I know STK has done a great job of, they've created this like meat market, and they've been doing big pushes around that. And so I think that's something that'll continue through the holiday season for corporate customers who aren't necessarily ready to like commit to having a group function yet. And maybe they don't want to take that on. And they're not back in the office yet. They will send out those holiday product kind of gift boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love the idea of like those gift boxes, especially when everyone's like working virtual. Like I know our company specifically, like we have people all over. So anyone who's having to do like a virtual kind of gathering or things like that, those are great.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's, here to stay, probably. I think it's a great outlet too. But I think definitely throughout the holidays, that's still going to be a big thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if nobody else has anything on the topic of like holiday stuff, I know we can maybe like dive into how everyone's generating new business. So, and I think this kind of plays off of what you were just talking about, Whitney, with all the boxes. So I just threw up another poll and kind of see what kind of stuff you guys are doing. And if you guys are doing anything different, like feel free to write it in the comments so everybody can see. Okay, awesome. So I think most people are still doing like pickup, delivery, virtual experience. Who on the call is doing the virtual experiences? I think those are super interesting.
I am. Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm with Brooklyn Winery and District Winery. And during quarantine, we started doing virtual wine tastings. And then now we have a whole like virtual product line to do like wine tastings, wine blending, wine games. And then for holidays, you'll be able to pair with snack packs and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Are you seeing like a lot of interest in that?
Tons. Yeah, it's been really popular, especially with corporate, just because people are kind of scattered all over the place. And right now we can ship to 17 states. So we're able to kind of get everything out to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm in Brooklyn, and I am going to check out your website and get some fun wine things delivered to me.
Fantastic. Yeah, we have the virtual experiences, and then you can obviously just shop our wine too, which is delicious.
There you go, Azure. You're all set for like our happy hours now.
Lindsay, is that a like live only event, or is it something that like you're doing like a tasting guide and then like packaging like a tasting guide with wines and letting people like access it on demand?
A little bit of both. So we have the live events is what we've been doing. They're for groups of 12 or more. And it's actually hosted on Zoom. We have a team of in-house wine experts that actually work in our wineries making our wine. So those are our hosts. And then part of our holiday product rollout, we will have like a self-guided kit. So you could buy any of our virtual experiences and kind of DIY it yourself at home with a guide.
Very cool. We have a question in the chat. Do you pass the shipping costs onto the corporate host, or is it factored into the cost of the package?
We factored it into the price of the package. We did a lot of just research. It's hard because there's not a ton of like virtual comp sets you can do. But we did a lot of research in a lot of places. If you order a wine or a wine gift box or something, there's usually like a $20 shipping charge on top of the price. And just, you know, I mean, you guys know, working with corporate event planners, like the more straightforward you can be, the better. So we kind of just streamlined everything. So everything's included in the cost of the package. And then we just charge a 15% tax and processing fee. It gets tricky because when you're shipping stuff, the tax is actually based on where it's going and not where it's coming from. So rather than having to figure out like tax of, you know, 50 different locations, we're just kind of lumping that in and we're figuring it out on the back end. But yeah, but we incorporate the shipping into the package.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of coordination involved in this.
It's all right. Keeps me busy.
Right, exactly. Like, it's good.
It gave me a job, so I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Who else? I saw some people are doing tasting boxes. Is there anybody on the call that wants to kind of share like what kind of tasting boxes they're doing and how that's working out for them?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, now we can.
Hey, my name is Allison. We're not doing tasting boxes specifically, but we're doing a few virtual events. I'm in Chicago, so we're very strict, much more strict than Texas or Nashville, for example. So corporate is still quite leery about doing anything in-house. I work for a company called Let Us Entertain You, and we are doing interactive events like cooking classes. We are doing cocktail making kits that are a little bit more unique. So one of our Italian restaurants is doing a limoncello making kit. We're offering it to be picked up or to be shipped. Shipping is on top of the kits because some clients are doing half and half, some are picking up, some are shipping completely. And then we are kind of building out virtual holiday parties on themes. So a Latin American restaurant will have a playlist. It'll have mini piñatas. It'll have a margarita kit and a taco kit, for example. So it gives people a theme that they can then have a party separately from one another over Zoom. So we're testing those out as well.
I love that. You guys put together like a whole playlist and everything it's like a party in a box basically for them.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
That's awesome. Are you finding that, I think like with corporate clients, they just still all have kind of their whole marketing budget to spend. So are they like more willing to just tell you what they need to spend up front and you're like catering packages to that?
Yeah, exactly. They definitely have, fairly large budgets. We were able to practice a little bit on gala and fundraising events. So we've done quite a few meals and kits for those. Those generally have large budgets. So that gave us kind of a practice for doing these big kits we try to pair them with celebrity chefs or well-known chefs and mixologists within our company. So the budgets have been pretty good.
That just reminded me of the Fabio Trabocchi ladies in DC who shared a similar kind of experience of how the corporate planners would reach out and say, hey, we had like 10 grand to spend on this trip and this conference that we were going to have. And now we still have the 10 grand to spend. We need to get creative on how to spend it. What can you do basically? And they would they've been setting up these kind of custom packages with a demo with their chef, like add-ons like caviar and champagne they're shipping out. So really high level luxury ingredients that are included in those kind of like tasting menu demo virtual experience things that they're doing. And I think they've had pretty good success with that, but it's definitely interesting to get creative, I think, during this time and see what everyone's doing to put together those unique packages for people that are still trying to find a way to engage with their employees or their customers or clients, and kind of need help doing so.
Yeah, and things that are super unique. You know, we've done some omakase kits, some sushi rolling kits, with whether it be QR codes to YouTube videos or live Zoom classes, but anything that's unique, interactive, and makes people really happy has been popular.
Yeah, totally. I feel like we also had Lisa Flores on, and she was saying something very similar where she was offering like champagne and caviar kind of things for her like corporate clients who are still like, they're still hosting these executive meetings and these really high-end meetings. And so they're putting together like higher end packages and boxes, and it's working well for them too.
Allison, what's the largest group or kind of range of guests you're seeing for that type of thing, or that you all feel comfortable executing?
Well, again, the galas are helping us cut our teeth, right? So we're looking at 150 to 200 kits with those. Corporate has been smaller. It's been in the 20 to 50 range. But once you do something really large, it gives you confidence to do the other ones. It's definitely painful the first couple times, but we're seeing mostly 20 to 50.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, flexibility is key right now, I think, for everyone.
Yep.
We have a question, if food is being sent out or delivered, is delivery going to the individual's home? So are you doing like a lot of home deliveries or more to just like?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's home delivery for corporate.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's local in Chicago, we will deliver for an additional fee to homes for these corporate events.
That's awesome. I remember somebody else too on one of our social hours was saying like there was like this neighborhood that they would all get together, but they all put in like a huge order. So it was like a big catering order just for like a specific neighborhood. So like one person would
awesome.
put it in, yeah, which was kind of like a cool thing people are doing.
How much are you guys charging for the deliveries to their home, individual home? If you don't mind sharing.
We have a range, obviously. You know, we're most of our restaurants are located downtown. So within 3 miles, it's $10. Within 5, it's $15, and then within 10, it's $25. I can source it. I do like to keep it as internal as possible, just to keep that extra revenue. But we do have companies that will deliver for us.
Well, yeah, we had another similar question. Like, what are the logistics of doing home delivery? Do you do this internally? It sounds like yes.
Yeah, I mean, if we can, we do. You know, like I said, we like to keep that revenue, especially right now. Before COVID, we would probably farm it out a little bit more, but we have a couple vans. You know, we have some younger staff, and we just build a window that's 2 to 4 hours, depending on how many orders we have, and have 3 to 5 delivery drivers.
Is there anybody else who's doing like similar, either tasting boxes or virtual experiences? No.
Just another question. I'm curious if anyone is doing anything where they would typically, like, you know, would host a corporate group in the restaurant, if they've had any success trying to work with that corporate point of contact to do like gift card sales for the organization, or basically like, you know, foster the goodwill and the relationship that you built up with them, but understanding that maybe capacity limits or, you know, occupancy regulations are in the way. I know a lot of folks that are doing private dining sales also have to do gift card sales has anyone seen success kind of leveraging one to the other? If people, say we can't do an event this year for whatever reason, does that sort of go into script 2 of what about some gift cards?
Yeah, definitely. At Fogo de Chão for sure. I said that I had an 80 top cancel on me. They're switching to gift cards. That's exactly what they're doing. And that's as far as cancellations and things like that are concerned, in my opinion, it doesn't make good business sense to be charging cancellation fees or holding people to these minimums if they're canceling. You're going to lose that client moving forward. So very flexible on cancellations and just saying, hey, do you guys want to do gift cards, or, do we want to even push this back to like a January date? I know that some companies are doing that as well. And then also alternatively is saying, hey, would you guys feel more comfortable doing a catering pickup type situation? So you were going to pay for their meals anyways. Do you want to arrange like, hey, you guys can come in anytime during this week, during this window at this location? We've already got it set up where they're direct billing us, that kind of situation, if they can't come in for their event.
Yeah, that's great. That's so smart. Just curious, I'll launch another poll on the topic of catering. Is everybody offer offsite events and catering, or some of you wanting to, but trying to figure out how to do it? Wait. Okay. So it looks like almost 50-50 on this. I'm just curious, like if you're not offering catering, if you're on the call and like not offering it, is there a reason? Is it just not the style of your venue, or is it more like you're trying to figure it out? And you can feel free to type it in the chat if you don't want to speak up. Or not. Whitney, are you seeing anybody doing kind of catering stuff in Nashville?
So I was gonna say, when people just talk to me about like what's going on right now, and if we talk about catering and they say they're not doing it, it's usually either the two reasons you said, like the style of business doesn't really fit their style menu, but a lot of time, even those people right now are trying to figure out how to get into it. Like I saw Addo Mix in New York is now offering some kind of like to go something. So they're trying to figure it out, but a lot of times it just doesn't work for the style of menu or service or something like that. And then I also hear from a lot of people, we just like don't really know where to start. We're trying to get into it. We've just never done it. We're trying to figure it out. And so I had been speaking with some people just about any place where to start, basically where they started. Some of our larger groups that do offer catering, and they said like the best piece of advice they got was just start small, test it out a few times, and then, grow. Don't try to do everything at once. Don't try to do your whole menu at once. Don't try to do every type of event. Start with like one thing, one offering, and then grow it from there. So I thought that was pretty smart. But yeah, I think I'm seeing a lot of people offering some kind of catering something, just with what's going on. A lot of them didn't offer it before, so they've gotten into it throughout this, and with pretty good success. A lot of creative stuff, like individual little cheese boards and to-go boxes. Yeah, Allison just said in the chat, individually packaged I've seen things I didn't even think about individually packaging all over the internets now. So it's pretty cool to see what everyone's doing. But I thought that individual cheese board was one of the coolest things I've seen.
I feel like just randomly, I've started seeing a lot of people starting their own charcuterie business, putting together these beautiful boards and then selling them, which I thought was I guess, right? Why not?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like the craft business is growing. I've seen definitely a few of those. People have shifted careers and kind of started turned their passion project into a business. But But yeah, I think catering, if you haven't gotten into it now, it's a good time to get into it before the holidays start. And I do also think that catering is something that will stick around because it's a way for people to control things that they might not be able to control in-house dining. So even once this all settles down, there's still going to be people who would rather be in the comfort of their own home or something like that. And so it's just a way for them to control their environment. So I think that will stick around.
Yeah, I think Angie has a good point. So she's a fine dining, and the food is best served in the restaurant. And they do offer curbside, but with special pricing since they're missing out on the experience. And they have smorgasbords for pickup at a discounted price. That's cool. I mean, fine dining at a discounted, even if it's in your own home, I still feel like that's an experience.
I have a Michelin restaurant as well, and we just started doing kits for corporates, like higher end 4-course with caviar service kits for corporate, and it's working for sure.
Nice. So what else is kind of included in the kit?
So it's a 4-course menu. Right, it changes every 2 weeks. Right now, it's a lobster and Michigan corn salad. There's a veal dish, a dessert. There are macaroons and mignardises. You can add champagne and caviar to it. You can add. We have logoed champagne glasses. You can add to it, so you can make it super high end if you want. And literally just started it last week, and it's definitely getting some traction, especially for holiday.
That's awesome.
Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm one of the West Coast account managers for Triple Seat. I know my sister, she lives in Los Angeles and does takeout, not all the time, but special occasions from one restaurant. And it is a fine dining restaurant. And the last time they did it with the piece of meat that they got, and the piece of meat was raw, they actually got the cast iron skillet was part of the package with the cooking instructions. So, I mean, a lot of the food was already made and in gorgeous to-go boxes and already prepared. But then this one, like, insane cut of meat had the cooking instructions, and then you got to keep the cast iron pan as well. So it's a little bit of both, where you get the fine dining experience, but then the interactiveness, and then also something that you get to physically keep with you after as well. So kind of tying in all of those things together.
Chelsea, was it like a small skillet, like for 2 servings?
No, it was like a cast iron pan.
Like a big, wow.
Yeah, like a cast iron pan that came with it. Yeah. I mean, you're definitely paying for it, but with the caliber of food that you're getting and the quality, I think it just really speaks to the whole experience.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love that idea. Because I think like the interactive aspect to it too is like a fun, like it's nice to get something, but it's fun to sometimes cook it yourself or feel like you're the Michelin star chef at that point.
And I think it also really mitigates, wanting, especially like who really orders in steak or red meat, because it's never going to be hot or cooked the way you want. That's something you go out for, or you cook it at home. So it's kind of bringing that like steak dinner, nice night out in, but not having to do everything else surrounding it. So it's like, oh, if I only have to cook one thing, it's a little bit less intimidating and like thought provoking to do the whole meal.
For sure. And then Alexa just put in the chat on the topic of individually wrapped things. She attended MPI DFW networking this morning, and it's what the setup looked like. I just opened the picture, and that's very interesting. Like everything.
It was bizarre. Like if you had shown me that picture back in January, I would have been like, why are we putting salads in cups? Like this was... They did it very smartly. It was a very successful meeting, safe meeting.
That's genius.
Yeah.
I like even the butter has its own little shot glass over it.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Very cool. How many
I'm
people?
a big fan of the salads and the cups at events because you can hold your wine in the other hand.
It was fun. Like I was scared it was going to go off the plate. So you popped the cup up and then your salad was just kind of there on the plate. It was just interesting. But there was, I think someone was about to ask about how many attendees there were. There were probably maybe 65 of us. And it was interesting. They did 4 per table, even though we're allowed to do up to 10. They were 1 on each kind of corner of a 60-inch round. So we were very, very spaced apart. And then, of course, masks every time you got up from your chair, and then sanitizers everywhere.
And what was in the mason jar?
Oh, that was like a chocolate mousse.
Oh, cool.
Really, really tasty. Yeah, really good dessert.
I know, it's so funny because like before I feel like everybody cared about presentation. I think now it's just like, just give it to us, like
The
individually.
functionality now.
People were complaining about mason jars a couple of years ago. Everybody uses mason jars, and now they're back.
Definitely.
Just on the topic of the spacing at the networking event, that's actually something that has come up with, I'm with Earls, by the way. I run the 2 private event spaces in Vancouver. And that's something that's come up with corporate clients is their guests aren't in each other's social bubbles. So even though you can sit at a table of up to 6 people, they don't want them to be because they might not be in each other's social bubbles. So they're inquiring about having every single guest 6 feet apart, which you can imagine sounds like a really fun event. As well, we don't have the space, right? Like you'd be paying the minimum spend for being able to fit way more people. But you can fit 10 at one of my private event spaces that you can normally fit 50. And the other one that can fit 180, you can maybe fit 50 at that location, which is a bit strange.
That is crazy. I think it is too, like, I feel like a lot of the corporate clients too might have their own internal rules. So like, even if a state has its own regulations, as a corporate, they have a responsibility, like corporation, they have a responsibility too, to their people. So I think they're being a little overly cautious and about things
Totally.
like that. Yeah.
And that's a lot of our cancellations as well have said, you know, our company just is mandating no in-person gatherings right now. Like we just can't do it company-wide. So is what it is. But
do they tell you, or do they have any idea of like when maybe they could do in person, or is it kind of just like, we don't know?
it's so up in the air right now. In BC, we're pretty strict with all the regulations, like just increased to, all standalone banquet halls are not allowed to be operating right now. Alcohol service has to end at 10 p.m. So like things are increasing and changing every day. So the way we're operating and the way that they are as well is so up in the air. And luckily the majority have rescheduled for next year and not like straight up canceled. But whether the rules are still in place as they are or different for 2021, even 2022 is still,
Yeah.
who knows?
You have a lot of, I'm just curious, like a lot of like local clients, or do a lot of them come from the US, try to go to?
I would say so. Both of my venues are pretty even split of a ton of weddings, a ton of social events, which those are the ones that are still moving forward regardless of the rules, because a lot of their groups are in the same social bubble. For our Yaletown location, the Loft has a ton of corporate holiday events, and a lot of them were saying as well, like we had planned on having people come in from the States and across Canada, and we just can't do that right now. So yeah.
It was so interesting at that networking event today. There was an entire panel discussion on liability, and if companies are having attendees that do have events still sign waivers. And they said, you know, if someone did try to go forward, at least here in the States, if they tried to go forward with litigation, it minimizes the amount of people who would actually try to go forward with it. But if they do go forward with it, it doesn't actually protect the company. Because usually what happens is someone young and healthy like me goes to this event, brings it back home to somebody who maybe is immunocompromised, and that person who then gets sick and potentially dies didn't sign the waiver. I did, right? So the company is still liable. So I have a financial advisor that books regularly with me, and he's having all of his attendees sign these waivers, which, I mean, you know, it kind of is what it is, but it's interesting to see that happen now.
Yeah. Does anybody else have corporate clients who talk about like waivers or having people sign waivers? I have a couple friends like in the corporate side of the world, and I don't think, one, I don't think their companies are like doing anything, but two, I don't think I've heard any of them mention kind of waivers. But that is interesting that it's kind of, I don't know, it wouldn't apply to everybody, like you said, if you brought it back to somebody.
I've heard of it. My brother was going to have his wedding in June, ended up canceling it, but they were going to have everybody. The venue was going to, it was just set up like an event venue, and they were going to have everyone sign waivers who was attending. So, and I know we had Jessica from Eddie Merlot's was on talking about the pharma restrictions. So she's got pharma groups that are booking quite often, and they'll send over like a laundry list of kind of requirements and all that kind of thing. Sometimes in-house, sometimes they do pick up on their tab for all the guests. But one more skill that we're all learning during this time, add it to your resume.
I was curious to see if anybody has, started to try and price out, kind of changing their service fee structure or adjusting pricing. I've actually been reading a lot about, to-go and curbside. Some of the best people that were positioned for the pivot were newer restaurants who had kind of already built in the cost of some of the additional overhead for those operations, and a lot of folks were kind of hurrying to try and update their pricing. Curious if anybody's experimented with additional fees and charges. I know it's like seems a little bit antithetical to increase business by increasing charges, but I also think there's a psychological element of like safety and sanitization and things, service and the premium of privacy and today's sort of antisocial age. So is anyone either, I'm sure terms and conditions have all been updated, but charge structures or fee structures related to COVID, has anyone dipped a toe into that or seen any? I'm more curious if folks are willing to bear the additional cost for some, security.
Yeah, like a COVID fee. Like I've heard of people doing it. Yeah, is anybody on the call doing something like that? I know Angie said they have a 15% service fee for curbside, but you make it known that no gratuity is required. I also have been hearing people are bad tippers right now, which is wild to me, like so wild. I feel like I overtip to overcompensate all of these people being out and around so many other people.
It's so funny. It's like I've seen in the restaurant the two total opposite ends of the spectrum. We've seen groups, like even big groups. Like I had a group of 30 or 35 people the other night. They tipped 25%. And then you get the people on the exact opposite end of the spectrum that are leaving 10%, 12%, at a fine dining restaurant. It's wild to see.
Which
that.
Like even in regular times, I would be like, that is like,
what happened?
Yeah, right. And then like now though, especially, but back to the COVID tax, is anybody adding something like that to their business?
Earl's is actually discounting to-go food for people that are coming and picking up. Takeout gets a 10% discount, trying to capture those sales while we are open for dine-in to try and get people, encourage them to come in and get takeout. If they're picking as well, we're with Skip the Dishes and we pay a percentage to them for the delivery. So it's encouraging people that come and pick it up. It's less than the percentage we would spend for Skip anyways, so.
That's interesting. Well, okay, so if nobody else has anything to add there, we had Angie in the chat say She has a lot of repeat clients for December and has not had any cancellations at this time, but most clients that have booked will be able to use the rooms contracted, even if COVID guidelines are still in place, which is so great. That's awesome. And then Emily, in line with that question, would love to hear about resources for cool to go and or individually packaged items. So does anybody have like a vendor that they use or somebody Emily could reach out to? Like, how is everyone doing their individually packaged things?
I'm not sure who our vendor is. That goes through our corporate office here in Plano, but they're, I'm sure, happy to share that information too.
I used to get like the palm leaf or bamboo disposables from like Webstaurant store. Oh my gosh, there's another like wholesale place like that. I'm forgetting the name that starts with a K, but those stores, any of those like palm leaf or bamboo disposables are so nice looking. I think they really elevate things, but they are still disposable. And I think they're more eco-friendly than like a plastic or a styrofoam as well.
Definitely. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions that they would like answered by the group or anything they want to add? No. Are you guys, so I know we have, like, when you register, you can ask questions, and I don't know if the person's on the call now, but something that somebody asked was, how are you encouraging your staff to think positive and build innovation during these uncertain times? So are you guys doing anything to like motivate staff, or are you guys having trouble getting staff to come in? Like anything on related to those questions?
Staffing's a struggle for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, staffing's a major problem because every time they increase capacity, you can't just hire and train somebody. You know what I mean? And then you don't want to overstaff right now because then nobody knows what's going to happen. They shut everything back down tomorrow. Like it's such a roller coaster. Something that we've been doing to help motivate our staff though is FOGO is a big partner with No Kid Hungry, a national organization to help end childhood hunger. And we have been kind of rallying the troops, so to speak, around that cause. And so we had a big No Kid Hungry push and really got everybody on the same page. And at FOGO, like it's obviously unlimited meat style service. And so they can visually see how much food is wasted, not just in our restaurant, but it gets them thinking about how much food is wasted worldwide and then thinking about kids going hungry at the same time. It kind of united everybody to stop thinking about COVID for 2 seconds and kind of get behind a community aspect. So I think community involvement would be a good way to help kind of a nice distraction for everybody.
I think that's great. That's awesome that you guys were able to do something too to like benefit the community, especially like right now, right?
Yeah.
Anybody else? I know Whitney, who was it in Nashville that was doing Etch Restaurant, right? They just did like, they've been doing a lot of like the hospital.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of like drop-offs for hospital workers and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was going to say, I know at the beginning, and I'm not sure if it's still like this, but I'm sure in different areas, it feels like the beginning because everyone's on different timelines. But I know some of my customers were saying they had increased the hourly wage for servers. You know, it's so tough during this time, but that was, they felt like they needed to do that to, you know, make nice with the staff to get them in to do right by them. So I've seen some people doing that.
So I'm based in Las Vegas, and when I was there at the very beginning, because restaurants had surpluses of food, they partnered with United Way, and the food surplus they made into meals, and they partnered. It was with a service called Food Heroes, and I actually did it for a couple of times to go and deliver meals to people that were below the poverty line. And then I actually asked, because I think 2 of the restaurants were customers, so I asked them if this was food that was being like that they had surplus, and then you know it was in the beginning, and then it ended up that they just started donating food, and it was food that they actually started ordering, but their staff were the ones that put all the meals together and boxed everything and bagged everything and got the address list and then assigned it to like whoever would come pick up. So that was another way to keep them engaged, but then it also engaged the whole community. And then somebody that works, you know, in hospitality kind of on the other side to keep the whole community kind of talking to one another, and like still, you know, for me to be able to like still see their faces, and the event manager was there and the servers were there. It was a really, really great just opportunity for that.
That's great. I love that. I love that you went and did that. That's cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was.
sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
During the dine-in closure in Vancouver, I was actually working at another one of my old locations. My job has changed a bit during COVID, but we did hospital drop-offs for our local hospital. Every guest that was coming in to pick up takeout, we would say that portion of the tips are going towards these meals every week, and then everyone was super generous with that. And then we also, because we were doing that, got a large 1,070 person takeout order that was a local NHL player and his athlete girlfriend wanted to take care of that many meals for hospital workers during that time. So we got a huge delivery out of that.
That's awesome. And Whitney, were you going to say something?
Yeah, now I'm trying to remember what it was. I totally lost my train of thought.
You're trying to figure out who the NHL player was.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I really was. Just quick Google search after this. So I was also thinking about, I know a lot of people have been doing more professional development during this time. And I know probably most people are running with skeleton events crews, but a little plug for Triple Seat University. I think now is a really good time to do that professional development and maybe, you know, get your team, if they have extra time, to do some online free courses. I know a lot of places are offering free certifications right now. So that might be a good incentive for staff too. If, you know, maybe you can even like pay them for the time, but I think it's a good time to bulk up professional development skills too.
Definitely.
I just put the link for Triple Seat University there in the chat. So people haven't signed up.
Awesome. Okay. Is there any other questions that anybody has for the group? Anything else anybody wants to share?
I'm curious about outdoor to indoor dining. It's going to start to get cold soon. I just wonder if anyone out there is thinking of some interesting solutions or some ways to keep people outdoors with, you know, fire pits or heaters or those igloo things, if anyone's trying any of that this year.
Yeah, we're definitely, well, of my 2 locations, one of them has an outdoor patio that we have really got off the ground and running. That restaurant's been there for 2 years and people still didn't know that the patio was there. So what we started doing 2 or 3 months ago when I first started is I brought in a musician. And so she's been doing live music every Thursday. But to your point, we're like, what are we going to do when it gets cold? So during the really hot days, because it got up to like 105, one of the days that she was there, we had misting fans and people loved that. It still brought out a huge crowd. They felt comfortable. But we're looking at getting the standalone, the heating towers, I guess they are, and getting those to keep people going, just because for that live music, it's not something that translates really easily into the restaurant. So we got to figure out a way to keep people out there, and just the comfort level. Like, so many people have said, I only want to be outdoors right now. How's that going to work in the winter time? So yeah, definitely investing in those heaters.
I know people are doing like the igloos. It'll be interesting. Azure, do you know if in New York they're gonna continue to do like give sidewalk space to restaurants, or is that not decided yet?
I think they had extended it for a while, but I know that heaters aren't allowed, but they're trying to get the city to compromise on that. There's already quite a few rooftop places that have been doing the igloos, and I think this is my year to go visit one of those because I haven't done that.
We were on a call last week with Jono and Andrew Ridgie and he was wasn't he going to try to fight for the heaters?
Yeah.
Yeah, the New York City Hospitality Alliance is trying to get the rules bent for that.
They are, so apparently you are allowed heaters, just not propane is outlawed. So you're allowed a natural gas, which is extremely expensive and hard to hook up, or electric, which is also equally expensive and hard to get the wiring and everything. So it's really about getting propane approved. So that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whatever. I feel like people got so creative in the summer, and like when this started, it'll be interesting to see how everyone continues that creativity in the winter.
I've been impressed with all the sidewalk dining and all the things that restaurants have put together. It's really opened up my eyes to my neighborhood a little bit, because Brooklyn has such, density. There's so many businesses here, and you know what the restaurants are. You're walking down and you see this little, sidewalk area. I'm like, oh, that sidewalk restaurant looks cute. I didn't know it was there. And now I want to eat there because they did such a nice job with their seating area.
For sure. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left, so I think we can start to wrap it up. I put in the chat just a few minutes ago, and I'm going to put it in again, a survey that you all can fill out for me. I would really appreciate it. Just like to see how you all enjoy these social hours and what you would like to see different, or other topics that you would like to hear about. And then we have a couple other resources for you. So if you didn't know, we also put out a podcast weekly, and I can put a link to that in the chat as well. So it's called Two Chicks, Three Seats, and it's a hospitality podcast about everything that's going on in hospitality, and it's run by 2 girls on our marketing team, and it's super informative. So I highly recommend, like, if you guys commute to work or have 30 minutes, like, give it a listen. And then another great resource we have for everybody is our Facebook group. It's where we share articles, you can share articles, we can ask questions. It's kind of like social hour, but online and just more immediate. So if you wanted to know what other people are doing with like their cancellation clause, like, just throw that out as a general question, and I guarantee you somebody will answer. Like, people right now more than ever are loving to share that kind of information. I think everyone's just trying to help everyone else out. So feel free to join both of those things. And I think that's all I got for you guys. And thank you all so much for joining and sharing. I really appreciate it. And this information just helps everyone. So it's been great. And we hope to see you again in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.